Welcome back, and you're watching Market Fatafat on ET now. Let's keep it going with all those stocks that are buzzing in trade, either on the back of news flows or on the back of technicals. And on the technicals, now we're joined by Kunal Rambhia. Kunal, very good afternoon to you as well. And let's start with the first stock that you've picked out for us today, Sterling Wilson Solar. And this one has not given much in terms of returns when I look at it in the last 6 months as well. Is it time on the charts? What is the indication that, finally we'll see a strong up move coming in here?
Very good afternoon to everyone. So if you look at the Sterling and Wilson overall since a year, this counter has been a range bound and the range has been around 285 on the lower side. To say in between, it has given couple of spikes, 3 to 4 times spikes till 340 levels. It's back to those 289 levels. The risk reward ratio for the range trading is just perfect. One can start initiating a buy on this counter at 289. The stop loss on this can be 275 to 280 zone. Keep on buying on the decline, and I think this counter can from here again bounce back to those 340 levels in couple of months.
Okay, 340 on the charts for SW Solar, but moving on, and Winnie, you're going to be talking about Zydus Live, why this counter is in focus.
Absolutely. So we have a news update, Shristi, that has come in on Zydus Live, and the company has actually received an Establishment Inspection Report, an EIR, that is from the US FDA, for an inspection that is conducted at the manufacturing facility, which was located in Ahmedabad. And this was between 20th of March to 24th of March 2023. Now, this inspection has been classified as a voluntary action indicated, that's a VAI, and the ERI report indicates that the inspection has now been closed. On the back of this, we're just keeping an eye out on this. Today, the stock is not doing anything exciting, down with cuts of almost 0.5% on trade.
Okay, but moving on, let's focus to the PSU banking space, because that's where all the action is. And an update coming in from Bank of Baroda, the stock which is higher by around 3.5%, where they have plans to sell up to 49% stake in their credit card business arm, that is BOB Financial Solutions, and currently it is 100% owned by BOB. Now, the bank has floated a request for proposal for roping in strategic investors, and the process is expected to complete within a year, and that's the report on BOB, and probably a reason why the stock is buzzing in trade today.
Okay, let's move on then and talk about Latent View, Kunal. And this one has seen a bit of an action in the recent times. Seems like there's a lot of interest coming in this one. Latent View, as in terms of 6 months, has been in terms of very mild in terms of returns. But would this be a buy at 373 rupees per share?
So again, just similar formation on the charts with respect to SW Solar. This counter was in consolidation. The range for this counter was 320 to around 365. And that range was traded for almost 3 times, and this is the first time counter is giving a volume-wise breakout. The breakout is at 370 itself. The counter is right now trading at 373. I think now this range expansion may come into picture. Going forward, I think we can see the levels of 425 to 430. So one can initiate a buy on this. The stop loss will be 360, and the targets can be 425 to 430.
Okay, 360 stop loss, 430 is the target. We're moving on, and Ashesha, coming to you for the next counter. You have picked up APL Apollo. Tell us why this stock is buzzing today.
Well, yes, strong operational updates is why the stock is in focus today. Remember, fourth quarter is usually a seasonally strong quarter, and despite that, in the first quarter, company has reported strong operational data. In fact, sales volume stood at about 661,000 metric tons, which is an uptick of a whopping 56% on a year-on-year basis, and even on a sequential basis, it has seen an uptick of about 2%. The company says that this is on account of strong contribution that came in from value-added products. In fact, contribution from value-added product segment improved to 57% in the first quarter versus 53% that we saw in the previous quarter. Management commentary is also quite optimistic. They say that sales mix is expected to improve going forward with rising contribution from innovative products. So strong operational updates, strong management commentary, value-added product contribution is expected to increase, and that is the reason the stock is buzzing in trade today. In fact, as we speak, it is gaining nearly 1.5%.
Okay, keeping an eye out on APL Apollo Tubes. But let's move on and talk about the auto sector. And we have the auto sales data that has come in. Yes, Shrishri is sitting next to me, but she's not talking about it. We have Harsh, who's going to give us all those details about the auto sales numbers and how they looked this time around.
3 companies that I'm going to focus on, Vinny, with regard to auto sales. One is Maruti, where we've seen a 10% reduction in the term in volume terms on a month-on-month basis with regard to the data coming through. It's just about a 2% uptake on a year-on-year basis. Let's also have a look at Hero, which is also a bit under pressure today. Hero showed a 16% downtick month-on-month, 10% downtick on a year-on-year basis, and well below estimates when I'm looking at the Hero's June numbers. 485,000 odd is what the number that was expected in terms of unit volume. It's come in at just 437,000. So clearly lower on that front. But on the positive side, we're looking at Oyster Motors, a solid 7% uptick in terms of volume on a month-on-month basis, 6% up year-on-year, and a solid 5% higher than what even our estimates were indicating. So couple of positives, a couple of negatives, and a positive coming through on some of those numbers.
Okay, couple of positive and couple of negatives. So it's a mixed bag by the auto sales data. I couldn't resist giving a lead out, but moving on and shifting focus to IRCTC now. Kunal, tell us, what are you spotting on IRCTC?
So we saw a very decent rally on the counter, like IRCTC and all other rail counters also. The counter IRCTC specifically rallied from almost 560 levels to 670 levels. Retracement so far seems to be around 38.2% to 50%, and now counter is in sideways consolidation. Any uptick from the present levels can take the counter back to those 675, 680 levels. So one can initiate a buy on this. The nearest stop loss on this counter can be 625. I think the counter can now show us the levels of 675 to 680 in 15 to 20 days.
Okay, let's move on and then talk about GNA Axles. Now, this stock is in focus and buzzing in trade today. Why is that so? Actually, let's look at the stock move also, because it jumped as much as more than the intraday move was more than it saw in last 20 months. And this is because the company actually said that they will be considering a proposal for issuance of bonus shares. That's at the shareholders meeting that will be held by the company on 21st of July. And obviously they'll be considering earnings on the 21st of July as well. But mainly that bonus issue which they're going to be considering is keeping the stock abuzz. And look at that jump, Shrishti. That is why that up move that we're seeing coming in, and the most that we've seen, 10% uptick as of now. Most of the jump is in the last 20 months is an interesting move for GNA Axles. So keeping an eye out on this one today, standing pretty at 878 as of now.
Okay, well, let's shift focus to NTPC now. The management did meet the analyst, wherein BNK Securities, we are getting the updates where the receivable position continues to improve, where the days fall to 36 versus 45 in FY23. What they have also updated that they have added 110 MW of solar capacity in Q1 and holding 17% of Indian total renewable capacity, and the major thermal capacity addition likely only in the second half. They had a fixed cost under recovery of 578 crores in Q1, and due to maintenance and lower profitability, that is lower plot availability factor, and they expect their PAF is to be 92% in Q1, and under recoveries are expected to fall sharply to less than 100 crores. So that's the update coming in on NTPC. They're not interested in, they are just consolidated regulatory equities. A couple of more announcements coming in where they have awarded another 6 gigawatts of coal-based capacity contracts in the near term. So they are bullish on that as well. And on the back of these news flows and updates, the stock is surely buzzing.
Absolutely, surely keeping an eye out on that one in trade. But let's move on and talk about Maruti Suzuki and Kunal. Every time we talk about it, we are reaching closer to that 10,000 mark. And how soon could we expect that 10,000 mark? Last 6 months, 15% uptick. Now, how fast is it going to be to that 10,000 mark?
So if you look at the historical chart right from December 2017 so far, Maruti has tested this 9,900, 9,850 kind of zone 4 times. And recently also we saw the same high getting, even the closing of the last week was near to 9,800 itself. But today on the back of the poor numbers again, the poor sales number, the counter is down by around 1%. I think if it fails to surpass this 9,800, then it may just come back to 9,350 again. So here is a contra bet as of now. Keep the stop loss of 9,850 and one can initiate a short on this, and the targets can be 9,300. But if the stop loss is triggered, that's on 9,850 and above, if the counter closes above that level, one can initiate a buy with the target of 11,000.
That's interesting to note that when a lot of us are waiting for the 10,000 mark at this resistance level, Kunal is looking to short this particular counter for a target of 9,300. But moving on, and Ashesha, a stock of your sector, that is Vedanta, that is also in focus. Tell us, why is this in focus today?
The stock is in the green today, and that is because the company informed the exchanges that they will be undertaking strategic review of their steel and steel raw material businesses. Looks like they're increasing their focus on their core businesses. The company on Friday informed the exchanges that the review will begin shortly. They will evaluate a broad range of options to maximize shareholder value. They also said that it will include but will not be limited to potential strategic sale or some of the businesses that were mentioned. This includes steel and steel raw material businesses. The company has already engaged advisors to assist in this review, and the company has also assured investors about their profit maximization. Company continues to review its strategic priorities in the normal course of its capital allocation processes. So on the back of this news that has come in, looks like the company is increasing its focus on core businesses. Perhaps divestment could be on the agenda, and that is the reason the stock is in focus today.
Surely keeping an eye out on Vedanta. But let's move on and talk about Ease My Trip. Harsh, this one is in focus again. We had seen last week or a couple of weeks back, there was some selling coming in from the promoter. Now what is the news for Ease My Trip?
A bit to his selling. So we've had Rikant Pitti, who sold another 10 lakh shares at $40 a piece, reducing his shareholding. It was at 32% at the end of FY23. So need to wait and watch as of June 2023 where his shareholding actually stands. But we also have Societe Generale, which has bought around 0.9% stake in the company, 1.5 odd crore shares purchased at $40 a share, and that's probably pushing the stock into positive, 2% higher on the stock price. Societe Generale buying into Ease My Trip.
Okay, shifting focus to another public sector enterprise, that is BHEL. Kunal, tell us, what are you spotting on this chart?
So again, this is a counter which we have been discussing since quite long, when it was near to 72, 73 mark, and our target was around 90. Now what we can see on the chart is since 3 weeks, this counter is struggling near to 90. In fact, even today's trade, it went up to 89, and right now it's trading at 88. One can book the profit for now and keep the level of 90 in mind. If the counter decisively closes above 90, then I think the level still 103, 104 are on cards, but otherwise we may see some profit booking from here. I'm not advising a short because the formations are really strong, but one can book the profit and wait for the breakout of 90. Above 90, one can initiate a buy again.
Okay, surely keeping an eye out on BHEL. But let's move on and talk about Bank of Maharashtra. It just came out with its operational update just a short while ago, and we saw the stock doing quite good in terms of the up move over there as well. Let's look at it. It's up almost 4%. You see that spike coming in. That's when we saw the announcement coming in. It was a strong operational update that came in from Bank of Maharashtra. Let me just take you out to the numbers. The total business in the month of June grew by 24.82%. The gross advances versus the previous month also saw around a jump of 25%, coming in at around 1,40,561. So yes, a jump and uptick coming in there as well. The total deposits in the month of June were also up by 24%, while in terms of the gross advances, that saw a jump as well. The CD ratio that for the month of June was at 71.86%, 71.86, I beg your pardon, versus a comparison of 71.75 in the last year same time. The CASA ratio also stood at 50.97. So keeping an eye out on Bank of Maharashtra surely seems like a strong update that has come in from the management.
Okay, shifting focus to the stock number 35 now, and Kunal, once again coming to you. The metal counters are trying to catch that steam and momentum, and from the pack you have picked its sale. Tell us, what are you spotting in this particular counter?
So the only observation on the sale is that in number one, it's been laggard so far, and now it's coming out of the entire massive consolidation, the consolidation which we saw from January so far. If you look at the last 6-7 months behavior, the counter wasn't able to cross 87, 88 mark. And on the lower side, it was making a curve formation, bottom formation near to 80s level. So yes, now this counter seems to be showing a first sign of breakout. Risk reward ratio is extremely favorable. Just waiting for the counter to close about 88. One can initiate a buy with the stop loss of 83. And I think the first target on the counter can be 98, and then we can keep revising the targets upward.
Okay, keeping an eye out on sale and those levels over there. But let's move on and talk about an auto name and Shesha, Hero MotoCorp. Why have you picked out this one? Is it auto sales number or some other news flow?
Yes, in fact, there are several news pieces for Hero MotoCorp. First up is the price increase that the company has undertaken. The company has said that they have increased prices of motorcycles and scooters by as much as 1.5%. This will come into effect from the 3rd of July, that is today. Remember, the company had undertaken last price hike in the month of April due to OBD2 norm transition. Apart from this, the management commentary has come in, which is quite optimistic. They say that the onset of monsoon in most part of the countries and overall economic indicators bode well for the growth in demand. They also say that industry volumes are expected to pick up leading into the upcoming festive season. Apart from this, it is also the auto sales numbers that the stock is reacting to. Numbers have come in below what the street was working with. So, company sold about 4.4 lakh units in the month of June versus expectations of about 4.9 lakh units. So, below expected set of June auto sales numbers, and that is the reason the stock is in focus today.
Okay, moving on, and let's shift focus to another banking name, that is CSB Bank, where they have revised their base rate from existing 10.2% per annum to 11.05% with effect from 1st of July 2023 onwards. No change in the marginal cost of funds based lending rates. And that's the update coming in from CSB Bank. If you will see, the stock is actually in green, and with the other financials, the stock is holding up a gains of 2.5% right now.
Absolutely, Shrishti, and holding on to those gains since the morning gains that we've seen coming in as well, holding on to the 2.5% level over there. But let's move on and talk about Shriram Finance, Harsh, and this one is in focus on the back of a brokerage note, I believe.
Well, yes, Morgan Stanley ups its target price on Shriram Finance, continues its overweight rating, increases target price significantly. 1580 to 2200 is the increase in target price. Quite a solid increase there, as you can see. What they believe is that you're going to continue to see comfortable potential for strong stock returns. They're expecting a 17% EPS CAGR over FY23 to 26 and a 17.5% average ROE from FY24 to 26. They're seeing a potential of a 30% upside on modest loan growth, return ratios, as well as valuation re-rating despite the discount to its peers. So on the back of that, you're seeing positivity on the stock as well, 1% plus higher.
Okay, now let's shift focus, as we have been talking about the financials. Now let's get you an expert voice wherein overhang in the non-lending financials is going away, and that's the view coming in from Ravi Dharamshi, CIO at ValueQuest Investment Advisors, and he adds that he is not looking to reduce the exposure on lending side. Let's listen into his take on the financial space.
So there a lot more money is going to flow into financial products. So non-lending financial companies are at a very interesting juncture, and whether I say it's the insurance companies or the wealth managers or the capital market related plays, these are all still suffering from the correction of the last 2 years or the last 3-4 years, where there were some regulatory kind of pressure on the company, or there was exceptional pressure on the yields, which was leading to the companies not performing. Now some of the pressure is relieving, like we saw in the case of AMCs, that okay, the regulator took a pragmatic view and decided to hold back and take the industry's feedback. So just like that, on the insurance front also, there was an overhang on the a particular company from promoters selling. They took back. So all those overhangs are now going away, which is leading to this space also suddenly becoming very, very attractive. So I would say within the financials, non-lending financials are probably at a slightly better risk reward at this juncture. Now we are not looking to reduce the exposure on the lending side, but we are definitely looking to increase the exposure on the non-lending side. So it is not a either or call for us. In fact, we are bullish on both the spaces.
Okay, that's the view coming in from Ravi Dharamshi on financials. But let's move on and talk about Harrison Malayalam on the charts, Kunal. This is not a name that I've seen coming in on most of the analyst list. But in the last 1 month, this stock has seen a gain of 18%. What are the charts indicating for this one? 141, is it a good time to buy this stock?
So if you look at the overall formation on Harrison Malayalam right from July 2021 so far, the counter was in clear down channel formation and it was making lower top, lower bottoms. It's the first week The previous week was the first week where it showed the decisive breakout with volume, and that breakout was placed at around 137, 138. It gave a decisive closing. In fact, in today's trade also, it's holding up to those levels. If there is a follow-through buying from the present level, I would label this counter as completely bottoming out counter. One can take a chance of buying at the present level. If there is a further minor decline to say 135, one can initiate a buy near to that level also. The stop loss on this counter will be 130. And if this counter turns out perfectly, the entire turnaround story turns out perfect, I think the targets can be placed near to 180 mark. It's a positional view, so we need to keep evaluating, and that's what we'll be sharing with our viewers regularly.
Okay, positional view on Harrison Malayalam. But Ashisha, coming to you for next one, you have picked up Granules India. Tell us why this counter is in focus.
Yes, some US FTA action, and that is the reason the stock is in focus today. It is off the highest point of the day, but despite that, it is sitting on with gains of almost 0.9% as we speak. Company's Unit 4 facility, which is located in Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh, has successfully completed US FDA's pre-approval inspection or PAI. GMP audit was conducted between the 26th of June and 30th of June, and US FDA has issued Form 483 with 0 observations. So that's the positive that has come in from the company. Now this particular facility of the company, which is located in Visakhapatnam, manufactures API or active pharmaceutical ingredients. So positive commentary, and that is the reason the stock is gaining in trade today.
Okay, let's shift focus once again to the auto pack, and M&M is definitely the counter that is buzzing. Today itself, it came out with its auto sales data, which was above the ET Now estimates when it comes to their automotive as well as tractor division, but they have also published their annual report. A couple of highlights that we got for you from that is, firstly, when we talk about the chairman's commentary, Mr. Anand Mahindra, he says that the future of their growth plan is clearly is to set out their strategies for scaling up their core businesses and the growth gems as well defined. Now, the rise of the generative AI is likely to be a major inflection point which could actually fundamentally transform the life and business as we know it. And AI could literally become a co-pilot in like almost everything that they do. That's the commentary, positive commentary on the AI front. But Anisha is highlighting that going ahead, they will be capitalizing on their market leadership in the automotive and the farm segment and achieve full potential in their finance as well as technology business. Coming to some of the opportunities and the outlook, so definitely they have come up with a positive outlook from the mid to long-term outlook on the Indian tractor industry as well as the auto side for the long-term looks quite promising. Though they have highlighted that there has been some softening in the demand for the automotive during a longer period, that is FY19 and FY23, but compared to the previous 10 periods, there has been a bit of sluggishness that they have seen, but going ahead they are positive, and exports from India too have been impacted in that period. But they believe that the EVs adoption in India is on the rise, and that will one of the factors that will lead their growth ahead. So these are the annual report highlights coming in from M&M.
Absolutely. Let's keep an eye out on M&M as well. But let's move on, and Ashesha, Z, that's the stock that you've picked out for us today. What is the news flow here? We've seen a spike that came in the stock during midday. What is the reason behind this?
Well, yes, this, Z is gaining in trade today, and that is because Z has settled payment dispute with IndusInd Bank. And on account of this dispute being settled, NCLAT has now disposed of the appeal that the company has filed. So positive news flow, and that is the reason the stock is gaining in trade today. In fact, if we look at the 1 year chart of Z, the stock has declined quite a lot. In fact, in the last 1 month, the stock is down 10%, and in the last year-to-date basis, the stock is down 25%. Finally, looks like some respite is coming in. The stock is gaining in trade as we speak.
Okay, thank you so much, Ashesha, for highlighting why Z is in focus. But with this, viewers, it's a time's up on this edition of Market Fatafat. Thank you so much, Ashesha, Harsh, Kunal, for joining us and helping all of viewers with the stocks that are buzzing in trade today. It's a goodbye from me and Winnie as well. But before we go, in a significant move, the popular SGX Nifty has been rebranded as GIFT Nifty, and all the derivatives contracts that are worth $7.5 billion have been shifted to India. Will the trading hours be extended? Let's listen in to NSE MD and CEO Mr. Ashish Chauhan's answers on that.
Of course, in fact, if you look at the totally, even without people's knowledge, almost 75 to 80 billion dollars of bonds for Indian corporates, masala bonds, the dollar-denominated bonds have been listed on the GIFT City. So naturally, people have now larger exposure, even in debt, for the Indian economy. That's where basically they may want to have hedging instruments like corporate bond index futures or even government bond futures. And we have been trying for long to be included in the bond indexes across the world. But when Nifty started getting traded, it was not the international index which got the popularity. Basically, the Indian index, that is Nifty, got popularity. And similarly, if designed well, the Indian debt products also can have good market share and actually satisfy many of the hidden needs which the investors have, even in the debt side, currency side, and even as combinations of debt and currencies or equities and currencies. Those are the kind of combinations we would be looking at going forward, in addition to the commodities.
We'll trade for 21 hours. In Indian markets, we start at 9:15, we close at 3:30. I know there is this yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, which continues in terms of whether the extension of trading hours should happen or not. How soon do you think there would be a decisive decision?
In a way, these are all what I call work in progress. We need to take everyone along. Around a year back, I had raised this issue when I joined NSE. And many brokers had accepted that we need to do this because in a way we need to align with the rest of the world in terms of our market timings.